Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're looking at the ontology of Shah Waliullāh Dehlavī, and someone reached out to me and asked me which text should they read. I think it's fair to say that to understand Shah Waliullāh comprehensively, or any author for that matter, you have to read all of their works, but that won't be sufficient. You've also got to read what I would say is the intellectual history. So where did they get these ideas from? So I just want to say this right at the outset, that to be a really good scholar not only makes you or wants you to read all the works that are out there, but you also need to be an intellectual historian, which most people haven't been trained in, but it's important to also read the history of ideas. As for the particular work that I think is useful is this edition of what's called the Lamḥāt by Shah Waliullāh Dehlavī, and it's very, very useful. This particular edition has recently been published, and I want to talk briefly about it before we continue with our journey with Shah Waliullāh. So in the context of Shah Waliullāh's writings, this text, what's called the Lamḥāt, it refers to brief illuminations, glimpses or insights which are of a spiritual, metaphysical or philosophical nature. Specifically, the Lamḥāt, the text I've just shown to you right now, is actually the title of one of his key works. It's called Lamḥāt fi ba'di asrar al-kitab wal-hukm wal-ibadat. So Lamḥāt, I would translate that as glimpses into some of the secrets of the book, the Qur'an. So it's actually asrar al-kitab, asrar al-Qur'an, the wisdoms of the religion, wal-hikam, wal-ibadat, and acts of worship. What is the meaning and purpose of this text, the Lamḥāt? Well, one way to think about this is the word lamḥā literally means a flash or a glance, a momentary illumination. And in fact, this word is actually taken from the Qur'an. For example, God says in the Qur'an, kalām bil basar, a glimpse of a moment, if you like. And in classical Arabic, it's used to signify a sudden spiritual or intellectual insight. So the way to understand this for us moderns, I hope, is that Shah Waliullāh, because of his intense spiritual state, would be bestowed with insights into the revealed religion. In his particular usage, the Lamḥāt conveys succinct yet profound reflections on the inner meanings, what we call the batin, of the religion, of revelation, divine wisdom, and rituals. And if I can show you, when you open the text, his actual writing itself is very, very brief. There's lots of footnotes, but he's provided a very succinct summary of his spiritual insights. And if you're not trained or you haven't read philosophy, theology, you haven't read around our spiritual masters, you'll find this text very, very difficult to read. It's not accessible to everyone. Maybe that's the reason why it's not public knowledge, because people struggle to read these sort of things unless God opens up your heart, and we ask God to open up our heart to the reality of things. So what he does in this text in particular is that he provides a collection of concise but deep reflections on the Qur'an's metaphysical dimensions. He also provides in this text and elsewhere the rational and spiritual basis of Islamic beliefs and practices, and he also provides the mystical aspects of worship, rituals, and theology. People often ask, my daughter just last night asked me the question around why we prostrate in prayer and why we have these movements, postures in prayer. And because I've read something of Shah Waliullāh and others, I was able to philosophize and explain to her the reason why we do these things. The text itself, it bridges a number of sciences because he was a polymath and he was a genius. Philosophy, of course, theology, what we call kalām, Sufism, what we call tasawwuf, and of course the ta'wil or tafsīr or interpretation of the Qur'an. And this all fits in with Shah Waliullah's broader project of harmonizing reason, revelation, and spiritual experience. Some of the key themes in Lamḥāt, for example, are questions around the nature of divine attributes, the sifat as we call them in Arabic, and more importantly, their manifestation. How do these attributes of God manifest in the external world? He also talks about the role of reason in understanding revelation, very important in our day and age. He also talks about the structure of the unseen realm, that is the realm of the angels, divine light. He has various terminologies that he uses, what's called tajalliyāt and so forth. Of course, he also talks about the wisdom behind the laws and the rituals Muslims practice in their faith, and he provides the metaphysical meaning of prophethood and revelation. Why were prophets sent? What does it mean when God sends different prophets at different points in history? So the Lamḥāt of Shah Waliullāh refers to his spiritual insights, his illuminative glimpses into the deeper truths of Islam. His book, the Lamḥāt, offers brief, very succinct, but powerful insights into the inner wisdom of the teachings of Islam. He blends rather effortlessly the rational discourse with mystical intuition. So in this sessions or series, we're going to be borrowing from the Lamḥāt to talk about the ontology of Shah Waliullāh. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.